Bob, welcome to discussion again, and thanks for joining us.
Hi, Charles. Yeah, you almost got it right. It's Public Service Alliance of Canada.
Public Service Alliance, yeah. Thanks for that. Yeah, so, well, just remind our listeners, actually, Bob, we'll talk about the demonstration in just a minute, but as to why the public sector workers would want to go and demonstrate against the Conservative Party in the midst of a snowstorm in Calgary is explained by a lot of very specific, concrete steps that the Harper government has taken against public service workers, and not only public service workers, and this is what Canadians have got to get through their heads. This is against us. This is against our services. This is against things that we want and need from government employees who work extremely hard to provide the essential services and needs of Canadians. So I'd like you to talk a little bit right off the bat, Bob, about what has been assailed by the Harper government in the last few years.
Yeah. Well, you're quite right, Charles. I mean, this what this government is doing. Sure, they're attacking the public sector workers, and they're attacking numerous other groups, but they are set about Stephen Harper and his small group of minions or henchmen or whatever you would like to call them, are setting out to change this country and change the fabric and the landscape of this country in a way that will be irreparable in some ways. We will never see, if they're allowed to implement everything that they want to do, we won't recognize this country. And the Public Service Alliance of Canada has recognized this long before the government came in to being as in their majority. We anticipated what the fight might look like if they ever did form a majority government in this country, and we're seeing that come to pass now. They seem to be getting their stride. They've got some swagger, and they think that they can waltz through this country and do whatever they want. And so they've taken aim quite recently with us and with public sector workers through legislation that they do have the ability to ram through the House. Most recently, they've introduced Bill C4, the Budget Implementation Bill, which is going to effectively, take a wide swath through the rights that we have, hard-fought rights that we have under collective bargaining. It eliminates human rights protections. It's making federal workplaces much less safe and dangerous, in fact, for its workers and the Canadians that they serve. They're doing this without any kind of shred whatsoever of consultation. I mean, we've dealt with governments in the past governments, even conservative governments. We've always been consulted, and in most cases, that's resulted in something that everybody can live with.
Now, Bob, I need to stop you here because you're so familiar with this stuff, but I just heard you slide over a really crucial piece of legislation having to do with safety. And I want you to, if you can, tell us the name of the bill and what concretely that bill changes vis-a-vis workers' control over their working conditions to ensure that they can go to the job and come home in one piece.
Exactly. And this is the changes that they made to the Canada Labour Code. Will basically turn back the clock, and turning back the clock measured in decades, not in years. Everything that changes that were made to the Canada Labour Code to protect workers, so that when they do go to work, that they can go to work and return home to their families safely at the end of the day. That is going to dramatically change. They're changing the definition of danger, making it much more difficult for people to exercise their right to refuse what they feel is dangerous work, to have it investigated properly and have it assessed to make sure that it is safe. It's putting more and more people at risk, not just for their day-to-day work, but also for long-term health as well. There's many environmental hazards that people encounter in workplaces. Asbestos, if we want to use that as an example. We've lost many people to asbestosis, and some of our own members. Most recently, a really good friend of mine, in Saskatchewan was lost his life as a result of going to work in a building that had asbestos in it, and he wasn't made aware of it. Saskatchewan, the province where that happened, has now just passed a law, and it's called Howard's Law, and it's going to protect workers provincially. But the federal government doesn't. They don't see that.
Now, Bob, I want to just interrupt you here because I want to bring to attention and memory those who heard the same program on the CBC that I heard, a morning program, about a plumber in the Ottawa government buildings, and he had for years on years striven to bring attention to senior management the illegal or dangerous practices that were done in maintenance toward the buildings there, and he finally got the attention of one of the safety inspectors, and no sooner had that safety inspector begun to look into it than a boiler blew up. Do you recall that story?
Yes, absolutely, I do.
Yeah.
Tragic.
Yeah, so this is...
Tragic and unnecessary.
Yeah, so this is, and so now it's going to be even more difficult for a whistleblower worker like that, who has a lot of courage and a lot of integrity, to take a stand.
Well, not even people that that would like to blow the whistle, but for the everyday worker that goes to work, they're going to feel intimidated. This government is taking many measures that are going to. They're already they have people on pins and needles with. With the workforce adjustment that they brought in, they've eliminated more than 20,000 jobs. People are fearing for their lives, so they introduce legislation like this, which is going to further intimidate people and make them feel very cautious about bringing this to the attention. And unfortunately they're going to go to work in places where they shouldn't be. And this is draconian. This is like I said, this is turning back the clock decades for what we've been able to achieve in this country, and it is really, from somebody who's worked their entire life as a health and safety representative, I find this is sickening.
All right, now listen, Bob. The issue that really confronts us, because, like you say, they're waltzing across the country with a great deal of hubris, a great deal of arrogance. We see this whole quite disgusting scandal in the Senate. We see this quite disgusting charade going on in the city of Toronto, and so on and so forth, which speaks to the further lowering of the level of political life and political discourse, and of making more and more people turned off about politics, and at the same time promoting this kind of scandalous behavior as part and parcel of politics. How do we stop Harper?
Well, I mean, we've got several things that people can do. First and foremost, people need to get engaged. People need to understand what's going on and pay attention. And get their eyes wide open to see what's happening here. It's when you look at it from a distance, you can see what they're doing. They're creating, they're using situations like this, the recent Senate scandal, while that's going on, and it grabs people's attention. On the other side, they're introducing legislation and changes that are going to, like I said earlier, are going to change the country forever. And so people really need to pick up and pay attention, to get in touch with their MPs and ask them point blank, particularly MPs, conservative MPs, ask them what's going on. Ask them to explain what is going on, what their government is doing. Why are they making these changes? Because this is a much bigger project than just the unions and the labor movement. Like you said earlier, taking on the government for collective bargaining rights. This is changing the fabric of our country, and people need to be aware. Write letters to your MPs. They're going to be back in town next week after there's a break. I would encourage everybody to get in touch with their MP and get as involved as you possibly can.
All right. Well, listen, I need you to conclude this part of the interview, Bob, by telling us about the demonstration, because certainly it helps to get out into the streets and talk to the people directly. Tell us a little bit about what happened on that stormy day you guys demonstrated outside the Conservative Convention, if you don't mind.
Sure. That was that day was it was one of the most inspiring days that I've been involved in for the past number of years. We had over 450 people out there braving cold and inclement weather and snowstorms. We had brought people in from across the country. Every component of our union, which is made up of a whole wide variety of folks, every part of our union was represented there. And we did that, and then the PSAC organized that largely through my counterpart, Marianne Hladoon. She's my counterpart in the prairies. We saw that not only as an opportunity, but as something that needed to be done. We needed to make a statement, and we did. And we were joined by several other groups. I know Peggy mentioned some of them in her piece. First Nations were there. We had Peter Julian and Nathan Cullen, two of our NDP MPs, join us out there in the weather, and we did make a tremendous statement. And I know that the Conservative government was watching what we were doing, and they better start paying attention, because there's going to be more. Tony Clement has clearly drawn a line in the sand here. He's picked a fight. And we're quite prepared to bring the fight right back to him. And I think they're going to rue the day that they brought this fight to us.
Well, I think that there is no question about it. Harper squeaked into power. His majority government is fraudulent. It does not reflect the majority sentiment of the Canadian people whatsoever, Bob. We have to remind ourselves every day that Harper got elected with 22, 24, 26% of the vote.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, and he manipulated it. He did robocalls. He did he violated the elections code, the election law. He did all sorts of stuff. And so now we have to find, it seems to me, we have to find a way to encourage a united opposition against Harper's agenda. It's not easy with this cartel party system, because everybody's got their axe to grind, right?
Well, I know, but you can get the sense the Conservative members that were at that convention, they debated resolutions. There was about 9 resolutions that dealt with labor relations issues. Only 4 of those passed, and of those that passed, they weren't unanimous. They were like 60-40. There's a lot of people within that party that are now questioning the leader, and we need to get out and talk to those people. And I think you're going to see that, Harper squeaked in. I don't think he's going to squeak out. I think he's going to be blown out.
Well,
and we need to make that our priority. Every Canadian needs to make that their priority.
All right, well, let's work on it, my friend, because we've got a lot of work to do to get that kind of opposition. There is growing opposition in our region, in British Columbia, as you know, to many of these projects, the resource extraction and, trying to make an economy and just exporting raw materials and so on. But that's for another day's discussion. Take care, and thanks for this report.
Absolutely, Charles. Thanks very much.